In her splendid buildings, in the name and fame of the artists who work there, Parma is rich in memories of the past. Correggio, Parmigianino, Stendhal, Bordoni, the great Verdi, and Benedetto Antelmi, architect of her incomparable baptistry, made her or sang her praises. Old squares, tangled streets, and unexpected views tell of Parma's past, of a capital ruled in its day by the Farnese, the Bourbons, and Marie-Louise, Archduchess of Austria and Empress of the French. It was they who made Parma a center of European art and civilization. Behind this long tradition, reflected here in supreme art forms, there has always been a strong sense of reality. A spirit of initiative and hard work underlie Parma's artisan tradition and industrial life. And then her flourishing agriculture and all the gastronomic customs that go with it. Matched with these customs is the enthusiasm of the people for raising farm produce, for preserving foodstuffs whose reputation and fame has spread far beyond this town and its surroundings. Our bird's-eye view of the artistic treasures of Parma takes in the famous Ducal Park, an 18th century Arcadia which was to leave the mark of its past splendor on the town. Today, the center of this lovely park accommodates the International Exhibition of Food-Preserving Industries. Founded in 1939, the Food Preserving Industries exhibition has grown steadily in importance, interpreting and at times stimulating developments which in recent years have greatly influenced the whole sector of alimentary products. This exhibition, which was started in Parma for purposes of presenting the most typical product of the surrounding district, the tomato, quickly expanded and became an international event. It became, in fact, an essential reference point for anyone whose interests were concerned with preserved foodstuffs and the techniques of food preservation. Internationally speaking, this is confirmed by the increasing support that this show has attracted in the form of official foreign participation. On entering the show, the visitor is greeted by the symbolic profile of Mercury, a figure known to all the world. Greetings in several languages welcome foreigners who come here, and not merely for formality's sake, but as a real indication of the cosmopolitan nature of this event. Benvenuto, willkommen, bienvenido, welcome. In the same way, gaily fluttering flags stress its international character, and this is endorsed by the Union des Foires Internationales, to which select body the Parma Fair belongs. A wide piazza with various pavilions leading off it. From this impressive open-air display of processing plant, the visitor is immediately able to take in the importance of this trade event. Like huge sculpted shapes, these marvelous installations have all the fascination of technical perfection about them. In the first pavilion, the business visitor comes face to face with the latest equipment that technical research has developed for applying automation and new methods to the working of preserved foodstuffs. In this highly competitive field, new inventions, new techniques guarantee that freshness and quality which the consumer rightly expects. The growing importance of preserved foods has made it necessary that the Parma Trade Show should be an up-to-date expression of this very important production sector. One matter of vital importance in the preservation of foodstuffs is packing materials. Of these, by far the most widely used is the tin-plated steel container, or can, in which the product is preserved without alteration of its natural qualities. Technical research into these problems has been going on for a long time, every year bringing new and interesting solutions to this trade show. Real progress in this direction has been made by the big Italian steel firm that produces the bulk of the tin plate used in Italy for the manufacture of cans of all sizes. The firm in question regularly exhibits at Parma, with a characteristically prestigious display whose simple, well-ordered layout suggests the perfection of its research techniques. The wide panorama offered by this trade show takes in the whole cycle of preservation, from cultivation to sales presentation. And in its presentation, this panorama is most varied. In effect, it is a giant catalogue of world production, which every year is updated with all the most recent lines. In this colourful scene, the old face of Italy reappears in modern guise, in a form that answers to changing food habits. The face of an agricultural country which the Latin poets, Virgil and Horace among them, praised as the very essence of civilization. The sun that warms this peninsula, the sea that surrounds it, the gentle hills that give it so varied a conformation, these things are all contained in the marvelous fruits of the Italian soil which the Parma show presents each year to the visitor, dressing up these products in new garb, new labels, but always leaving the contents fresh and pure and fragrant. The increasingly varied use of tomato concentrate is stressed at this show by its display of pasta products. They suggest a whole series of appetizing combinations in which the pleasures of the table are wisely moderated to current dietary requirements. On the theme of ready-cooked first-course dishes, a new chapter is being written. Attractively prepared tinned pasta dishes into which some of the big producers have been putting their experience with ever-increasing success. The experience of producers now extends beyond their widely varied range of first courses to include many other dishes. But let's return to the big central pavilion and look at what mechanical engineering has been doing for the food industry. Here, the prime objective is productivity. The Italian food preserving industry has to keep this factor constantly in mind in order to be competitive in major international markets. The trend to rationalization is represented at a high technical level by plant designed to cover the full production cycle. These installations integrate all processing phases, and because of this, the performance and results obtained from them are particularly interesting. A well-stocked show set against the attractive greenery of the Ducal Park. As we go round it, we cannot fail to be impressed by the massive installations displayed here. The powerful piece of equipment we see is used for making tomato concentrate, and was built by a Parma firm of international repute. This huge machine takes in fresh fruit at one end and by processes too complicated to describe turns out candied fruit at the other. The contrast between the power of the machine and the delicacy of its products is an intriguing one. Incidentally, we have been going through two of the new pavilions which the organizers have recently added to the Parma show so as to meet a growing demand for space from exhibitors. Everything here represents the latest in mechanical techniques. For example, this shining row of tubes in stainless steel, a metal which, because it is so clean and hygienic, is regarded as indispensable in the food processing industry. We have already hinted that in the food sector, the main stimulus to research comes from consumer tastes, from consumer discrimination based on modern nutritional standards matched to the changing conditions of life, environment, and earning capacity. The old saying about eating to live has never had so bright a look about it. The wider view is now taken by the food industry that it should integrate more closely with homely domestic traditions. And within that view, the eat to live concept, linked with rationalization, is all the time exerting stimulating pressures on the various concerns that work for and supply the food processing industry. These stimulating pressures have made of Parma Fair a mirror of development which every year brings new opportunities to the business visitor. The pavilions we have visited have given us some idea of the technical side of preserving foodstuffs during the first processing phase. Now we shall look in at Pavilion M, where the equally important phase of canning, packaging, and general presentation is shown. Here, the constant adaptation of new ideas, inspired by a wider understanding of marketing and marketing techniques, as well as by the developments that are now taking place in the field of distribution, make this sector one of highly topical interest. It is a delicate task preserving the excellence of a product, and the machines that do the actual tinning must operate with great precision. Watching these machines at work, we see that they do not have that grim, detached look, whose secrets can be read only by technicians. They present a lively, fascinating show that captivates the visitor. The sight of these machines at work has a certain magic about it, and this invites one to make a closer inspection. The skills of the display expert enable the ordinary visitor to take in the various stages of the canning process. Starting with tin plate strip, this phase ends when the sealed container emerges. It is a job that involves the use of several machines, each of which performs a given task with absolute accuracy. The various stages we mentioned just now are mere whirlpools in the stream of production, which flows at the rate of tins per minute. As with so many of man's creative efforts, the thought of it makes us wonder if there are any limits this side of infinity. All the operator does here is to press the button. The rest is left to automation, which controls and directs the complexities of these masterpieces of mechanism. With their delicate precision, they contribute in no small way to perfectioning the technique of preserving foodstuffs, and in a really big way to reviving and renewing this industry. It is, of course, by large-scale production that firms have been able to achieve the degree of rationalization which is an absolute economic necessity in the highly competitive conditions in which the food industry now operates. We have already noted that the Parma trade show has a well-marked international character, and that this derives from the participation of numerous countries with an interest in the buying and selling of preserved foodstuffs. It is something that gives the fair a brisk and lively atmosphere, New faces, new aspects of a theme that is familiar, yet always changing, have a stimulating effect on the visitor. Here we see some of the products of Spain, a country which has a long tradition in this field and which attaches much importance to her tinned food exports. Greece. Trade relations between Greece and Italy are very active and constantly improving. And here are the choice wines and superfine olive oils of Greece, the splendid grapes of Corinth that glow with the light and warmth of the Mediterranean, magnificent fruits whose colors suggest a sweet-smelling earth, and, among other traditional products, olives, jams, and tasty fruit preserves containing the subtle flavors of a land still haunted by fascinating myths, still offering nectar to the ancient gods. Another country that sends its gastronomic delights to Parma is Hungary, whose flourishing agriculture is clear from the quality of the produce it exhibits. Delicious smoked hams, choice wines from the Danube vineyards, Tokai among them, preserved fruits, salamis, Hungarian salamis that add a typically Magyar touch of color to this North Italian show. But there is another side to this delightfully folkloristic picture, the cold and impersonal look of the machines that Hungary sends for display in an international setting. And then Yugoslavia, with her many characteristic products, her wines, liqueurs, and different kinds of beer, her delicious jams and fruit confections. Uruguay. The exotic produce of Uruguay is represented in a bright display of fruit preserved in syrup. Romania with her wines, her cheeses, and preserved fruits showing in an elegant pavilion. France, the world's most famous wine-producing country, has sent some of her most celebrated vintages. And to mention a few of her exhibits, Moutarde de Dijon, snails, the produce of Normandy and Brittany, all sorts of potted specialities peculiar to the French cuisine. Portugal. Here, in a simple and elegant setting, Portugal offers the visitor the products of agriculture and fishing on which her country relies. A country, as we see, that is rich in fruit crops. The richest of them is grown in the valley of the Douro. From these grapes come the famous wines of Oporto, a joy of discriminating palates. But the earnings of her fishing industry are no less important. What the fishing industry means to Portugal is seen in this display of tins, tunny fish, sardines, and anchovies from the Atlantic. To complete the picture of herself that Portugal brings to Parma Fair is a wide range of coffee blends. Coffee, neither words nor color can convey its fragrance. With this brief review of some of the international displays at Parma Foodstuffs Exhibition, we conclude our survey of this trade show. It is an annual show covering the production of preserved foodstuffs in all parts of the world, and it is accompanied by conferences, study group meetings, and other functions at which experts focus on current problems of a technical and commercial nature concerned with the production and distribution of preserved foodstuffs. Every year on closing, the fair's greetings go out to exhibitors, to business visitors, and to parties of tourists who come to Parma at a time when this town, rich in art and historic buildings, is seen at its best in the revealing contrasts of light and shade typical of late summer. From this peaceful background in its lovely ducal park, the Parma Fair looks forward to seeing its visitors back again, and it reminds them of this with a friendly greeting. Arrivederci. Au revoir. Hasta luego. Goodbye. Auf Wiedersehen.